Hello and welcome to the 34 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1Baseball Podcast. I am your host, Michael Patrick Rooney. Tonight's episode brought to us by our good friends at S2 Cognition. S2 Cognition delivers a revolutionary approach to helping athletes understand how in-game decisions impact their performance from youth levels all the way to the pros. When it comes to decisions, I would like a personal assessment on my decisions when drafting the fabulous Roondogs. They were not great decisions. No offense to those players. That's all on me. But get an assessment from our friends at S2 Cognition. If you're not making good swing decisions, everything else doesn't matter. So really appreciate that partnership there. Also want to say thank you to Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. Easy to use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. See pitchlogic.com for more information. Pitchlogic.com. I'd also like to say thank you to the great Zebby Barrels, Aaron J. Fitt, and the owner-operator of the Joe's, Josephus Joe Healy. Gentlemen, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Coach.
Hello
Michael.
there. I am in awe of your ability, Runes, to keep such close tabs on the fabulous Roondogs, because we did the podcast, 2 weeks ago, drafting our teams, and I don't think I could name 3 guys on the team.
Yeah.
On my team.
Well, when it goes poorly, it's easy to remember. And truth be told, and this is where I'd like to start us off this evening, fellas, I'd like your counsel on this. The fabulous Roondogs, there's two, this is a multifaceted franchise. I've got the fantasy draft, the players, but the one that really encompasses my attention is the weekly picks. And that franchise, that version of the fabulous Roondogs, went a woeful 5-5 last week. And I'm just here to tell you now. I want my team to see me wearing the swag, right? Like I am wearing. If you're listening, I'm wearing my fabulous Roondogs logoed hat, compliments of Stephen Schock. So I want the team, Fitzy, to feel that solidarity. But I also want the team to know that they stink. That 5-5 is not good enough, and we are all over the panic button. If it doesn't improve this weekend, gentlemen, Chris from Louisville will be flown in to talk to the team. Like this is unacceptable. If we think we're going to take down Etheridge Farms by going 5-5 every week, we are not. That is not going to happen. So
Etheridge Farms is dynamite. That's dynamite. Yeah. That's the first time I've heard that one. That's a
you
gem.
Had Pebridge Farms growing up, Fitzy, right? Did you? Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
Drive-through milk store, Joe.
The Milano cookies also were the.
Amazing. Yes. Joe, any advice for the fabulous Roondogs? And Fitzy, you can go next.
Well, see, I would normally give you the advice of just tailing Mark's picks every week, but we can't do that anymore with the new method that we're using here at D1 Baseball to pick games, because tailing Mark's picks is a pretty good general strategy, but no, you can't do that anymore. So here's what I would do. It's a long season. There's a lot of games baked into this thing every week. So you've got plenty of time. No reason to press the panic button. I would just crunch some tape, basically, and I would grind tape and look at Mark's pick week by week and try to figure out what is he doing that I'm not doing? Like what picks? Like evaluate at the end of the week on the ones that he got right and you got wrong. Evaluate now, why did he pick that team and I picked the other, and then see if maybe there's some commonalities there. I just think this is a matter of a situation where you just got to, kind of put the work in. I think that's all this is.
And look, it could always be worse. You could be Eric Sorensen. You could be 4-6 right now. I think you gotta certainly you gotta accentuate the positives. As a fellow 5-5 franchise, listen. It's like Coach Healy said, it's a long season. I couldn't be less concerned.
Oh gosh, yeah. Stitch. In fairness to Stitch, he was on a ski slope 5 minutes before first pitch. So,
I had to badger him for his picks at the last minute. He's lucky he got any picks.
Yeah, and it is secret ballot this year. Very clever by our good friend Chris Gennaro. By the way, now is the perfect time of year to get a subscription to D1Baseball.com and SEC Extra. I'm just telling you, try it. Watching the games with a sub to our site will change your life. The ability to go look at stats, the ability to scan through a fall report and, think about guys that are off to great starts. And, like my man, Matt Massiangelo of Sacramento State. Did the fall report or did Coach Rooney's whack preview say that he was going to get hit by a pitch 112 times this year? I could tell you it did not. So, but anyway, if you when you check out, if you put in #GrindTape at checkout, you'll get 24% off. So the new coupon, Kendall, if you're listening, make that happen. It's GrindTape. Get you 24% off. You could also try season 24, which is kind of weak, but maybe try even put weak sauce in there. But season 24, I'm certain will get you a discount. But GrindTape should really get you a discount, Fitzy. That's what I'm saying.
Season 24 is weak.
24
or 24
season.
Season.
Not even grammatic. It's not even quality sentence structure.
Listen, Coach Runes.
Yeah, I thought we were capital J journalists. So, all right. Well, enough about the fabulous Roondogs. We, we in our locker room, we've got a little cartoon of Mark Etheridge of Etheridge Farms. We call him codename Biff from Back to the Future 3. Clearly, he's got a sports almanac from 2024. But we're coming after you, Biff.
I'm not letting you get away with this. Back to the Future 2, Runes 2.
Oh, that was 2?
Please know your Back to the Futures.
What was 3? I thought 3 was Into the Future.
That's the old Western movie.
Oh, dang it. Okay, thank you for that. That's good. I need to be better than that. Dang it.
Mad Dog Tannen. Maybe you're confusing Eth for that guy.
Dog Tannen. Oh, all right. So let's preview some college baseball now that we're 6 minutes in. Well done. Oh, gosh. Know your Back to the Future series, Coach Rooney. So, boys, let's do this. Let's talk about where we're going this weekend, because we are going to places of prominence, and then we will talk about a series that that has piqued our interest. So, Fitzy, you want to go first? What's your plan of attack for this weekend?
Hell yeah, I want to go first, Coach Runes.
Hell to the yeah!
I'm fired up. I got Globe Life this weekend, and yeah, baby, it's good. It's good to quite good. Couldn't be more excited about opening day of that tournament matchup between Arkansas and Oregon State. That's the evening game. Number 2, Arkansas, I believe, against number 7, Oregon State. Hello.
Wow.
Sign me up. That's going to be really the marquee game of the whole weekend, probably anywhere in college baseball, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything juicy.
Has there been a better pitching matchup this year than Hagen Smith versus Aiden May? That's got to be the best one of the giddy up so far, right? I would think.
That's good. Yeah, it's top of
quality.
My head. I mean, I can't think of anything that would trump it yet. So, yeah.
Oh, jealous, Fitzy.
Great matchup. Really eager to see if Hagen Smith can bounce back. I'm sure he will. Believe in that guy. You know, it was cold from what I understand. It was cold last week. Not a great night to pitch. And a bad, threw a lot of pitches in one inning. I mean, so be it. Pull him. That's the smart thing to do. He'll be fine. But him against that Oregon State offense is going to be fascinating, because you saw those guys in Arizona. You wrote about it in your Runes report up on the website right now. Check that out. It's a wonderful read, everybody. But the Beavers sound pretty legit, Coach. So I can't wait to see those guys take on Arkansas. And then, of course, you got Oklahoma State and Michigan out there too. 2 teams that we're kind of trying to figure out still. 2 teams that we thought would be very offensive heading into the year. Oklahoma State, really a surprise series loss the first weekend out there at Sam Houston State, but still really like their lineup potential. Still not sold on their pitching. We'll see. And so this will be kind of a telling weekend to see how those arms do. And in Michigan, an uneven weekend. Didn't you see those guys too, Coach, against Western Michigan?
Yeah, I did. They're interesting. Like I would say on paper, Michigan is not. They're the 4th of the 4 teams you're going to see. But I have great faith in Tracy Smith's ability to build that program. They're just the majority of it's going to be the high school pieces and then the grad transfers. You can see them trying to get their sea legs underneath of them. Michigan will have to play, they'll have to punch above their weight to hang with these teams this weekend. But I'm very confident in Tracy Smith's ability to build that program.
Yeah, I am too. And I like the young arms. I think the whole key to this season is how quickly the young arms can grow up. Because I think they're going to be okay offensively. And they got some good veteran pieces in the lineup. But so much depends. And Tracy was kind of telling us this at the convention. Like, so much depends on how quickly those young arms grow up. And if they do, they could be a regional team in the Big Ten. But TBD.
2 interesting freshmen in that one, Fitzy. Like Michigan, I might be saying his name wrong, but I think it's Dylan Vague. is a freshman who's pitching on Friday nights, and I don't care what the state of any program is, for a freshman to get the ball on Friday nights has my attention. And I'm really curious for all of you guys to see Trent Caraway. He's just a really interesting freshman. Like, he's not what I pictured, but he's still really good. And so that I was a little confused by him last weekend, but I left very convicted.
It sounded like you were saying he's maybe thicker than you expected, but also like in an athletic way, right? Like he's not maybe not as quick twitch as I was kind of envisioning, but he's a tank. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he's a tank. Like, he's quick enough. I was just picturing, like, in my mind, the assumption was that when Elijah Hainline signs this year, he slides over to short. I actually don't think he's going to slide over to short. I mean, he looks every bit of 215 pounds. Like, he's strong. But I'll tell you what he is. He's hyper aggressive and he's a little emotionally out of control. Like, the game, he's moving fast. The game is moving fast. He's swinging at everything. But he's also making adjustments. Like, first pitch of his career, he hits a missile double to left field. So second at bat, what's the first pitch? It's a changeup, right? So he swings through it badly. 2 pitches later, another changeup, he hits a home run. So it's like he's a little spastic in a very fun, good way. I'll be curious to see if he's that way against you guys or with you guys too.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that's certainly one of the players that I've most been looking forward to seeing in the early part of the season. Yeah, I mean, that's just a lot of star power there. You know, I mean, Oklahoma State with Nolan Schubert and Carson Benj, and it's going to be a fun weekend. The weather is going to be awesome all weekend, but I'll be inside, so I guess it doesn't matter. But boy, it's going to be like in the 70s and no rain, and sign me up for that too. At least while I'm around, it'll be nice when I'm not in the ballpark.
Yeah,
you'll get to enjoy that.
Yes. Now, Joe, I'm going to turn to you for a second. You saw quite a bit of our good friend Kendall Rogers in the suite in Globe Life. And Fitzy, are you going to go to the suite? Because if yes, Joe, I'd like you to evaluate both of our partners on their suite, like just kind of their suite game, if you will.
Yeah, I should be there. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, with Kendall there, it's kind of, there's these lapses, right? Where it's like 3 innings go by and I'm not sure Kendall's moving. Like I almost
he's frozen.
I almost called Globe Life Field to do a wellness check on him, go down there and shake him a little bit. And look, those are long days, so we'll cut him some slack. You're on your 9th hour there. It does get a little bit, you have to kind of hype yourself up to get back into it. So, this weekend I'm looking for Aaron to show like a little more, to use a word, quick twitch, in the suite, get up and move around a little bit more. I know you like to do the photographs and things like that. So maybe you'll partake a little more, but I'm looking for you to be a little lively, show some athleticism in that suite. Show us that you're ready to go. Kendall's was a solid performance, but there were just periods of time when the energy just wasn't quite there. And that was the only disappointing part of it, I think.
And one thing I've learned over the years from our good friend Coach Michael is you got to stretch. You're going to see me up there stretching out. I mean, I'm not afraid to do that on TV. I'll stretch. I got to stay loose. And hey, I mean, listen, I got the advantage. Only 2 games a day versus 3. Perfect number, really.
Here's another question I have about the suite situation. People, they find out about your suite, so they start kind of asking about the suite, and like it's kind of this. I feel like it's almost, now I've not had the pleasure, so I don't know, but I have to assume people are kind of implying like, "Hey, can I come sit in the suite? Like, can I? How do you anticipate dealing with that kind of stuff? Is it a case by case basis? Is it a hard no? Is it a hey, my door's always open, college professor style? What do we got?
Listen, actually, you make a good point. Can we strike this part from the record, Coach, before we post this podcast? I don't want to. You don't talk about Fight Club, all right? That's the bottom line.
The best part is Fitzy will be on television. He will get the person who texted him saying, "Can you get me in the suite?" will literally be able to see Fitzy look at his text and put it down with no response. So just be careful, Fitzy. The world is watching.
Much like Fight Club, the first rule, of course, of the suite is you don't talk about the suite. The second rule of the suite is have fun and be yourself.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Joseph, where will the JoJo's be this weekend?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Baby.
Yeah, the new tournament to the suite of tournaments put on by our friends at Peak Events, the Jax Classic, JAX there, because it's cool and edgy, the Jax Classic.
I'm feeling it.
Good field there. Obviously with me covering the SEC, I get to see Auburn there, which is a team that I'm interested in seeing. That frankly, getting to Auburn, Alabama from here is a little bit of a jog. So it's nice to be able to have them come to where I'm going to be. Virginia, obviously, 14 in the country, number 18 Iowa, and then Wichita State. So 3 of those 4 teams, I think we could. Obviously, we have 2 ranked. Auburn very easily could be ranked. There's a scenario where they are. So really 3 of the top, let's just say, certainly 3 of the top 30, probably more like 3 of the top 27 teams in the country. And then, Wichita State was kind of the mystery team, but they had a nice weekend. They won 2 of 3 over the weekend against the OVC favorite, Little Rock. And okay, we can nitpick on, okay, that's the OVC, but they beat the tar out of Little Rock the first 2 days, including getting, really putting a big number on Jackson Wells, who led the nation in ERA last year. So that is certainly not nothing, preseason All-American. So, and, Brian Green, head coach there, we know that, he's a guy who over periods of time can kind of get more out of his team, high energy guy, a lot of competition. Now, whether or not that's able to carry them through an entire season, we'll see, but certainly that's a team that I think we saw good signs from. I kind of wondered if they would just be totally overmatched in general because they lost so many guys in the portal. And so, but we'll see. I'm eager to see how they look in this setting, just kind of to judge okay, where are they on that spectrum? But I think Iowa for me is the most. Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm just going to chime in on Wichita. It's crazy to think how good they might have been if they had.
Oh, I know.
If they hadn't had the coaching change and then just a mass exodus.
Did they have 60 dudes last year? How did they even have? It was like every roster has a Wichita State transfer. It feels
many people are calling it a diaspora, the great diaspora.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what though, when I was doing the American preview, I found myself still kind of intrigued by the roster. Even after everything lost, I was like, you know what? These guys might be sneaky, and I couldn't get myself to really pull the trigger on them. They got a lot to prove, but all the new guys they brought in, some of the JUCO dudes, and I think considering, they got a late start on building this team and they had a lot of pieces to replace, I think they did an okay job, and we'll see. Your evaluation this weekend, I'm very, very intrigued to hear what you have to say about a lot of the new guys.
Yeah, I think, I mentioned the Brian Green piece of it, so I just Googled real quick to make sure I had the numbers here. But, when he took over Washington State, his first year was a 2020 season, and they went 9-7. But I don't know, from where Washington State was, that wasn't too bad. And their best year under him in Pac-12 play was his first full season. So I do think there is some bump you kind of get there from, there could be some sort of bump you get from kind of just a different voice, a new energy, all that kind of stuff, which is not unique to him, but we see that a decent bit. But anyway, regardless, Iowa, I think, is the most interesting team for me. The rotation full of high-end draft picks, and honestly, Brody Brecht is the name we all, even the casuals know Brody Brecht to some degree, but I'm perhaps more interested in the other 2 guys, and Obermueller and Marcus Morgan, because they're more of a mystery to me. Just I haven't seen as much of them, and in some ways they are, Obermueller maybe in particular, kind of the steadier of the group, because as big as the arm is for Brody Brecht, we're well aware of his issues with control and command at times, and those outings of 4 2/3 scoreless with 1 hit and 5 walks, that just kind of feels like what we're going to get. So if Iowa hits enough, that's the thing, is how much is Iowa going to hit? I like the individual pieces in the lineup, but how much are they going to hit against, an Auburn team that pitched well opening weekend, a Virginia team? We know the talent they have on their pitching staff annually, including this year. Can the offense do enough to kind of, pull them over the finish line if they pitch well, but not, not the best team in the field here. So the thing about Virginia for me is that they should be the team. The talent is just, when I was doing the preview of the Jax Classic, which you can read at D1Baseball.com, on paper, they should be the team that wins this deal. Wins, quote unquote. There's no trophy, but they got 4 guys in the top 200 and actually 4 guys in the top 129 because Jack O'Connor, I think, is ranked 129 for the 2024 draft, and then 3 guys in the top 100 for the 2025 draft. So they're pretty loaded, and they had a weird weekend last week against Hofstra where Hofstra kind of pushed them a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what to make of that. Again, tough weather, cold, all that stuff. Shoulder shrug there, but long way of saying, if you told me any of Auburn, Iowa, or Virginia goes 3-0 this weekend and we come out of it thinking like, hey, that was the best team there, I think I'd totally believe you.
Love it. Joe, you're going to get Brody Breck versus Chase Alsop, right? I mean, if things play out, it's Iowa, Auburn to kick it off.
I think I don't have it here in front of me, but let's assume that's true. Like, talk about 2 guys with big arms with sometimes trouble throwing strikes. Like, well, we could, neither of those, it might be the case that neither of those guys finish 4 innings. Like, that's totally on the table. But I will say last weekend with Alsop, he got hit a little bit last weekend against DKU, but he was in the strike zone. And like, honestly, we know what his stuff is. So I think at this stage of the game, Auburn will take that trade-off because he's not going to get hit every week. Like, his stuff is just too good for that. So if he's going to be in the strike zone, you'll roll the dice on the rest of it.
It's a great take. It's a great take. And it was, it's 4 2/3, no walks, and it's 5 runs, 3 earned. It feels like maybe, I didn't watch the game, but it feels like maybe if they play cleaner defense, then maybe like it's a different line. But that's I totally agree. Like, I thought that was very encouraging last week. Really, Auburn's pitching in general. Like, the reason we didn't rank them in the preseason was we wanted to see, can Alsop make the jump, and is Gonzalez healthy? And so far, I don't know if you would call it a jump yet for Alsop, but I would say it's encouraging that he was in the zone, and it was really encouraging that Gonzalez came back and not only pitched, but pitched very well.
Yep.
Yeah, the Carson Myers had maybe the best, or statistically had the best weekend of any of their starters. UAB transfer, and quickly on him, like last year, let's not forget Auburn's ace was a lefty with just kind of okay stuff. Who they found a way to get every last ounce of potential out of Tommy Vail. Carson Myers is a guy with a high 80s fastball, but if you're going to start with a lefty who throws a ton of strikes, like, I'm going to assume that Auburn, of all coaching staffs, is going to find a way to make that guy a viable starter in the SEC. It's not going to be exciting, but I do think he's going to be a valuable piece for them.
Yeah. Joe, you're going to be collecting some serious data points. Like, I'm thinking about that weekend, and it's, like, hey, is Jay Woolfolk a real weekend rotation arm? Like, now that he's not playing football, if I'm looking correctly, like, Ike Irish has been catching a bunch. So I would assume he's going to catch a bunch for you. And like, what's that look like? And man, that tournament is awesome. I wish the peak events guys who do such an awesome job. These tournaments, not only do they have great teams and great facilities, but they're so well run. It's pro all the way. They do such a great job. I wish every bye week during the season they could run a tournament, but I know it's not feasible and viable, but oh man.
Can I make one more just random comment here about this field? I'm curious what you think about Bobby Whalen, because I kind of liked him in the fall. He's a Virginia center fielder who transferred in from Indiana. And like, he was, he's kind of like a nice player at Indiana, stole some bags, but like, nothing crazy. But like, he got to a really, really good start. I do think he's a pretty good athlete who turns in quality at bats. And, he's not going to be Ethan O'Donnell that they had last year in center field that they brought in through the transfer market. But like, I wonder if he can be a reasonable facsimile thereof, like just a nice veteran piece that plays center field and does a really good job.
Yeah, Virginia's quickly becoming a program, and this is, I think, more true on the mound, but I think it's also true in the position player side, that if they take a guy in the portal and you look at their numbers and kind of go, like, let's just assume they know something that we don't.
Yeah.
Because like they have done a pretty quietly. They're not fishing in the same pond as LSU and Tennessee or even now Wake Forest in terms of those types of transfers. But the guys they get tend to be the right guys.
Very much like Duke in that respect. I talked about that a lot on, I think, the earlier show this week. But yeah, it's like they just don't miss on those evaluations. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
Love it. Boys, I will be traveling to Fort Worth, Texas to see TCU host UCLA. And my cousin lives in Frisco, and I thought he said it was going to be freezing cold. I'm looking at my weather app, which the great J-Ro disputes as not very accurate, but it's saying 73 degrees, 78 degrees, 83 degrees as the highs.
But I was trying to tell you, you're going to enjoy that this weekend.
Yeah, that's not bloody knuckle weather right there, Fitzy. That's healthy knuckles.
That's right.
So I'm just really interested because TCU was a team that we think a lot of. They had an incredible offseason. They're coming off of Omaha. They played a lot of freshmen last year. And I would say they've played some, they're 4-0, but Florida, Gulf Coast, and Texas State, that's not an easy trek. And statistically has not been easy for TCU. Like they're hitting 347. They hit 8 home runs. They're fielding 954. They made 7 errors in their first 4 games. And pitching wise, it's a 6.94 ERA. It has not gone awesome. Ben Hampton's start didn't go particularly well. Zach Morris's start didn't go particularly well. Payson Tolley's got a 12 ERA through 1 outing. Cole Klecker's got a 12 ERA. So again, context, it's 1 weekend. I get all that. But I'm interested to see this. In UCLA, they swept Gonzaga, which is not easy to do. I love that Cody Schreier, who was, lost a lot of last year to injury. He was great. Deuce Gorson was excellent. Rock Chalowski, one of the highly touted freshmen, he was excellent. But, they're fielding 950, which is so unlike them. They made 6 errors. They did throw the ball really well, come in with a team ERA of 2.67. They walk nobody. They've got 8 walks on the year. So I think at the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out who TCU's going to be because there is, Peyton Tolley. That's an impact transfer. Peyton Chatagnier. That's that's a presence on your team. It's a kid with a national championship ring. And UCLA, are they the team that started out 16-3 last year and it's the program that we trust, or are there remnants of just them getting ravaged by injuries last year? So I'm really curious. I feel like this is very much a learning expedition, but I'm excited to see it, and I'm really excited about what those temperatures look like.
I picked UCLA in this series, by the way, and the thing that I was really encouraged by was just the rotation, the starts they got from Luke Jewett and Finn McElroy and Michael Barnett. And that was our biggest question mark about UCLA. At least it was for me. And so far, so good. So Joe, I'm sorry I cut you off there.
No, I think the cutoff was mutual, as a matter of fact. Yeah, for me, you see, this is a weekend where I think you could argue on both sides that this is a little bit of a prove it to me kind of weekend. I think less so of TCU because I just think they're so strong there on paper. But with UCLA, it's kind of like, is Gonzaga just bad again? Like that's possible, right? Like they weren't very good last year. I hope they're not because that was a team I drafted in our stock market game. But even last year when they were bad, I get your point, Runes. Like even last year when they were bad, they were pretty pesky. Like they weren't rolling over a lot, but they weren't very good. So is that the case again? So is it just a little bit of fool's gold with UCLA that, hey, they pretty much took care of business against the Zags with, the exception of one close game. So to me for UCLA, it's less about, do you win this series? That would be great. Obviously to me, it's more like, do you look like you belong on the same field as TCU? Because I think we know with TCU what the talent level is, what the ceiling is, the team we saw in Omaha last year, all that. So is UCLA, do they look the part? Not just, Gorson and Schreier and Chalowski, guys that we know could be on the field with them, but what does the depth look like when they go to the bullpen? Can they stop TCU's offense and then vice versa? I want to see that UCLA just kind of looks like they deserve to be kind of in that same realm, to give us more sign that, hey, this is a program that's going to get back on its feet after last year just being a really weird shell of what we expect from them.
Yep. I'll put a bow on that one with this. Luke Jewett, who is the Friday night guy for UCLA, at least started out that way. Very interesting. He's super talented. Like he's been up to 96. You check on Synergy and the average fastball is 94. And that's a big number on Synergy because remember that this is average fastball velocity. So you're touching sixes and sevens to be an average of 94. And he just had this really interesting career at UCLA where, his freshman year, he gets 35 appearances as a really good reliever, 3.68 ERA, but he walked 13 guys in 44 innings. And, for UCLA, that's a lot of walks. And then last year, now he didn't finish the year because of injury, but he walked one guy in 20 innings, and yet his ERA ballooned to 5.31. And this weekend against Gonzaga, he only gave up 5 hits. He was mostly very good, but of those 5 hits, it's 2 doubles and a home run. So I'd be, that's against TCU. If you're giving up extra base hits, that could be a real problem, like take an early shower problem type of thing. So anyway, I'd be really interested on that. Hey, Fitzy, what's another series you'll be peeking at? I know you'll be fully locked in, but if your attention was to dwindle just a little bit, what's something else you'll be peeking at?
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, big series in Huntsville, season debut for Joe's favorite penny stock, the Dartmouth Big Green, going off to face the Sam Houston Bearcats, Joe's alma mater. I think you're going to be very conflicted there, Joe.
Oh,
that's a tough one. Yeah, that's tough.
That's a tough one. But I'll give you another answer too. North Carolina, East Carolina. Awesome. It kind of pains me to leave my home state here when that series is going on, because I love traveling series in general as a concept. I think it's neat, obviously, when Clemson and South Carolina do it. I think it's neat when Georgia and Georgia Tech do it. And I think it's really neat that East Carolina and North Carolina are doing it now. And it's been a fun series every time I've attended in the past. Great matchup, I think, on Friday night in Chapel Hill, I believe, with Trey Savage, of course, the first team All-American, and Folger Boaz, who was the first UNC freshman to start on an opening day since, I believe, 1998. And he's the real deal, guys. It's lefty who's firm with the fastball and got an elite slider and really commands a slider. And it sounds like the changeup's really coming too. North Carolina's offense looks scary good. East Carolina can score in a hurry as well. I mean, really, it's not, I don't think as explosive as UNC, but it's still another very good, typical East Carolina offense. It's going to be a great series. I mean, really, for me, it's I'd say probably the Marquee Series, like 3-game series on the calendar this weekend. I mean, UCLA, TCU would be the other one, but I think that this is a total coin flip, and I'm just excited to kind of keep tabs on it from afar.
I would say I don't think that weekend Fitzy's as much of a learning experience as it is.
Right.
Like I'm convicted on both teams. I think both teams are incredibly talented. It just feels like a February super regional is what it feels like.
That's well said. And that's exactly what it has felt like in the past, like the atmosphere at both, really all the venues, because they've got a neutral site game in Fayetteville, but especially the 2 on-campus venues when they've played in the past in February, it's been awesome. It's been electric, and that's just cool for college baseball in this state. And I'm with you. It's not like we're going to learn something. We're going to draw some sweeping conclusions about either team after this weekend. It's going to be, I think, a very tight series that could go either way.
Love it, Joe. What are you peeking at this weekend?
Well, quickly, because I think there's a tie-in between what Aaron just described in a series I'll talk a little bit about, and that's, ECU, we kind of understand the big picture story of that program, which is just like this, is it Sisyphean, like pushing the rock up the hill?
Yeah, look at that.
Sisyphus.
That's
look at you.
That's what
Greek
like ECU is doing,
500.
trying to get to Omaha, And one of the things that's hamstrung them, I did this when they lost to Vanderbilt in that super regional back in 21. Yes. I went back and looked at the history of ECU super regionals, and it's like a who's who of playing road series at like top 5 teams. And that's largely because they're in a situation where it is hard to be a top 8 seed if you're ECU, coming out of back in the day, the Colonial, and then CUSA. And now the American is getting increasingly difficult to especially the previous iteration. Maybe it's a little better now. We'll have to see. But point is, this is the type of series that I don't want to say they have to win, but like if you want to be a top 8 and give yourself an inside track to get to Omaha, this is a series that it would behoove them to win, because you just don't know how many opportunities you're going to get once conference play cranks up to put Marquee Series wins on the board. So I said, hoist the colors and whatnot. So my series is UConn at Cal. I'm kind of fascinated by. Ooh. For similar reasons, in that UConn is kind of always fighting this battle in the Big East now of, it feels like they're just on a razor's edge if they can only lose X number of games in non-conference and still have the dream alive of being an at-large bid come May, because you play a series against whoever the last place team in the Big East is, and they have an RPI of 252. That's just trouble. So the series like this, and who knows how good Cal is or isn't, but that's probably a top 80, 100 RPI team, like on a road series. Like you win this series, that's a mark in the positive column, right? And they played good teams last weekend. UConn did, so you hope that kind of builds on it. So it's important from that standpoint. With Cal, there's just so much. That high-end talent is so good. Runes, you've talked about this a lot with the Pac-12. Their high-end talent is really, really good. The question is more about depth, but the middle of that Pac-12 does seem pretty muddled. So I want to put eyes on Cal a little bit. I'm assuming there's a live stream for this. It's Cal, so I don't know that we can necessarily bank on that. But like, I think they typically do the non-conference games with the live stream. But regardless, big opportunity for both teams. Two teams I also haven't seen really at all this year, and I don't know how many chances I'll have to see once we get kind of into the teeth of the season. So an opportunity, especially because I assume these games will come on in an hour after my games are done. So that'll be kind of nice, a little late night treat there between two good teams.
I love it. I would tell you that if you want Cal updates, Joe, you're gonna have to text Roxy Bernstein. Is going to be your best option there.
Okay,
he will have people in the stands somehow, some way. I would say on Cal, Ian May hasn't pitched yet, and that is, they need a healthy Ian May. They played not very good defense last year in the infield, and they've got two freshmen whose names are nearly impossible to pronounce. But I'm going to try it. PJ Mutsaritis. And then the other kid is, where is he? Jaron Avincula. And he's the younger brother of the Avincula that just played at Washington State and was a pretty good player in the outfield. So I just think Cal's older, better. But, to your point, Joe, we will see. Couple of things that I'm going to be peeking at while I'm in Fort Worth is NC State at Hawaii. Hawaii, I mean, I know that people are panicking about Ole Miss right now, and Joe, you're probably feeling that way more than the rest of us, but Hawaii is just a hard place to play. It is so far away. It is a hellacious trip. It's a very distracting place. Back in the day, the umpires were in your dome because you were pretty sure the umpires were neighbors with everyone in the stadium not named you, right? Like it just felt like borderline calls were not going the visitors' way. Now, of course, we're in an era where that's not our current umpiring situation, but I think Hawaii's good. Rich Hill's a good coach. They've got good players on those islands, and I think NC State will have their hands full. I'm really curious about that one. The other one is Saint. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say I compared that Ole Miss weekend. For those who don't know, they split 4 games with Hawaii, and honestly, their Ole Miss's game 1 win went to 13, so it could have been a series loss for Ole Miss pretty easily. I compared it to one of those movies where a group of friends goes on like a vacation to a tropical location, and then like 25 minutes into the movie, they realize things are not as they seem, like there's some evil on the island and they get trapped there. And it's like just turns into a nightmare of a situation. Like that's kind of how that weekend played out, because they win the first 2 games and then lose the next 2 by a combined way too many to way too few score.
And then they escape the island and lose a home game to Arkansas State tonight. So that's not ideal for Ole Miss.
Their only solace is that their rival, in-state rival, lost to Austin Peay last night and is in a dogfight with Austin Peay again tonight. I think it was 10-9.
They were up big.
It was 10-9 last I looked.
I will say this on Ole Miss. We'll have more time to talk about them down the road, but I was staying at the Ferrens, the great Mike and Erica Ferrens' house, because we had so many games in Phoenix this weekend, and Coach Ferren and I stayed up late Friday night to watch Ole Miss and JT Quinn and Hawaii. The great Mrs. Ferren looked at us like, you two have serious problems. But hey, here's to you. Cheers, ESPN Plus. I liked Ole Miss's position player group very much. Yeah. Joe, they looked the part. JT Quinn didn't throw great strikes, but it wasn't like he was hitting the bull either. Like he wasn't hitting the mascot. So anyway, we'll have more times to discuss Ole Miss. But I was encouraged. I was really encouraged in a lot of ways. So, boys, the other one I want to mention, St. John's is at Houston. And, St. John's won the series, air quotes, at Florida because they only played 1 game, and they kind of put it on Cade Fisher. And that was impressive. And we know that the best St. John's has been struggling a little bit lately, but the best version of them was a, super regional team in 2012 that, I had that super regional, and they pressed Arizona, who won the national title more than anybody did in the postseason. So anyway, St. John's is interesting.
Years ago, though, doesn't it?
It feels like a long time ago. Where have you gone, Rob Refsnyder? For
St. John's has not been a factor in a while.
James Lomangino.
Yeah, they were. I don't think Joe Panic was on that team. I think it was the year after Joe Panic, but it was a really good team.
It was.
That said, Houston is just a gut feel team for me. I think they were one of my picks in the preseason. I think non-field of 64 sleeper. I just feel like their roster is ready to get after it in the Big 12. I'm just very encouraged by them. And so, this will be a good test for them, it appears. I mean, St. John's going down to Gainesville, even winning one game pretty handily, it seemed. That has my attention, so that'll be another good one.
Real quickly on 2012 St. John's, because you just sent me down that rabbit hole, Runes. Also on that team, the great Jeremy Baltz.
Charlottesville regional MVP, I believe. I was at that regional, and he just went bonkers.
Frank Schwindel on that team.
Love it.
A great St. John's name.
They had an infielder, Weiniger, that was really good or something.
Not Weininger.
Wessinger, yeah. He was their leading hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Hansen. They had a Hansen brother on there too.
Yep.
Not
Carasidi.
Luke Hansen.
Yes.
Yeah. They had some guy named Hagen who had the best ERA on the team.
Can we get Ed Blankmeyer back in college baseball immediately, if not sooner?
You know what? I saw Eddie Blanks for like two minutes in the ninth inning at Coastal Carolina this weekend. Obviously, his son Ty coaches for Duke, and but any 2 minutes with Eddie Blanks is just a true delight.
Amazing.
Wish I had more time with him, but I always enjoy seeing him around the ballpark. He's still lingering.
Yes, love it. Anything else from the St. John's stat page, Joe, that you'd like to report? That was well done.
No, thank you. I just, my only gripe was that I wish that they had first names on the stat sheet. Like it was just last names. So I was trying to remember on the fly. So, but just a fun, you're right, Runes, like that super, like I remember being pretty locked into that super for some reason watching it. And they, those scores do not totally do justice to how much St. John's pushed Arizona that year.
Yep. Quick story time and then we'll wrap, boys. So I did that super regional with the great Carter Blackburn. Does the most unbelievable Harry Carey impersonation you've ever seen or heard. And the other person in our booth was the great Randy Flores. So he had just got done playing and he was transitioning. He had some business things going. This is right before he became the Cardinals scouting director. And, Flo, as everyone calls him, is literally, there's no greater human in baseball than Randy Flores. Just all-time great, loves college baseball. Just vintage lefty from Southern California. So Flo this is like his, ESPN debut, and he's all hyped up. He's been like just plowing through Monster drinks before the broadcast. So we do the open, and you've got the headsets on, and so Flo then realizes that after the open, due to the Monster, the Monster intake, he's going to need a bathroom break. So we go to commercial, and Flo sprints out of his chair, like jumps out of his chair to run to the restroom at High Corbett, not realizing that he still had his headset on. So the headset yanks back, and then Flo, to his credit, accelerates through it. Like he played through it, Fitzy. And next thing you know, the headset is like bouncing off of the floor of the press box. And remember, a headset is a hot mic. Like a headset is a microphone. And so our producer, Rod Adamski, the most even keel producer of all time, like unbelievable guy, he gets in our ears and he's like, fellas, when you put your headsets down, please just put them down gently. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm saying, Rob, if you had video of what just happened in here, there was nothing gentle about it. It was just pure athletic acceleration. So Randy Flores, ladies and gentlemen, one of the all-time greatest.
For sure. Runes, I just have one question for you, sir.
Yes.
If the moon was made of ribs, would you eat it? Oh, that was terrible. God.
Oh, who was that? Who were you going with it for there, Fitzy?
I was going for Will Ferrell as Harry Carey, and I just totally blew it. I could not rise to the moment. I hadn't been practiced. I was not loose.
It's a high bar to clear, though, Fitzy. You know who else has a great Harry Carey? Jason Benetti. Also unreal.
Of course he does.
He's He's got some good ones. Joe, who's your best impersonation? You've got sneaky good impersonation game.
Oh boy, probably Kermit the Frog. Honestly,
that's right. That's right in your wheelhouse. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Hey, Kermit the Frog here.
That's very good. Very good. We need Kermit the Frog announcing a baseball game.
I have a Tim Tadlock saying the Shriners, but that's
good.
A very limited Tim Tadlock impression.
Yeah. Your best work, Joe, though, is you singing the Florida Gators fight song.
Sure. I've got the most esoteric. I've got the Florida Gators fight song. I've also got the J. Rokeach impression.
I do like that one.
Very, very specific. Brad Feger.
Feger.
So good. Oh, gentlemen.
You just always have to have a random Miami Hurricane at the ready, like just in case you need it.
Oh, it's a Sir Speedy home run. It's a Brad Feger home run, and he hit it to deep left field.
Nice.
So great. Gentlemen, this was so fun. I love these preview podcasts because they're very joyous. They're not very serious. They're joyous because another weekend of college baseball is imminent. It's right around the corner. So again, for the listeners, let's review. Vocab words were diaspora, cromulent, Sisyphus. There's some really good memes on Sisyphus if you'd like to Google that, and hashtag grind tape. So those were some of the expressions that you can take to work with you. And that is it. Everybody have a super fun weekend. Weekend 2 is upon us, and we will catch you next time on the D1 Baseball Podcast.